Hello, everybody. Actually, I've completely gone off piste already. So Rosie the pig, we've just moved. And down the road, there was a TV show being filmed. I think it was Your Dad, My Mum, one of that. I didn't watch it, but I thought it was The Bachelor and was getting very excited. Anyway, Rosie lives in a paddock. We live in New South Wales. We live about 50 minutes north of Sydney in a place called Dural. Rosie lives in her paddock. Rosie escaped. We found out because someone on a Facebook group found out and phoned us, and she had crashed the TV set. So I'm not sure if she's going to be on the show or not, but one of the crew luckily lived on a farm. I managed to wrangle her with an extension cord, and I went down the road. She was about 1 kilometre away. I went down the road and had to walk her back. And she's about that big, so love our Rosie. Okay, so today I am going to talk to you about embracing your purpose. Purpose is the single thing that drives me. I cannot speak more about it. It is my North Star, and values are my fuel. It is what makes me do what I do every single day. And I'm so excited to be able to talk to you all about it today. And also, by the way, just Julie and Sally, amazing presentation. Just awesome. So I've got to follow on from that, which is really hard. Hence the Rosie story. So yeah, I'm very excited to talk to you about purpose. It's not something that I suppose has always been in my life. And one of the most important things that you need to do in order to be able to embrace your purpose, you've got to be able to find your purpose. And that is the hardest thing. I didn't find my purpose until I was about 40. And up until that point, I was, I suppose, searching for something, really. And I wasn't sure what that something was. And I'll go through a little bit of me and my journey in a minute. But it was quite, I suppose, once I did find my purpose, I have been the happiest I have ever been. I have been the busiest I've ever been. I don't get a lot of sleep. But I'm ridiculously fulfilled because I'm singularly focused on this one thing, which is my purpose. And my purpose is basically to leave the world in a better place than when I found it. That's how I describe it. My little world. And if I do that with my little world, that has great ripples. So I'm all about being better and doing better. That's what I like to do. And this is kind of what I've done my whole life, but I've just been really able to pull it together. And I genuinely had an aha moment on it, which I'll talk through. So, this is me. This is my amazing, amazing family. These are, other than my mum and dad, the 3 most important people in the world to me. My husband, my poor husband, Tom, who has to put up with me, and my 2 little boys, Woody, who's 4, and Alfie, who's turning 3, although it feels like 33, next week. They are the light of my life, and they have taught me so much, particularly Woody, who has a disability, and him, I have learned so much through him. He can't walk yet, and he can't talk yet, and he is on his own journey, and he makes us slow down, but we just learn things every day, and we learn different things. We learn to celebrate his little wins, like he's learned to say, he can say his name now, he can say Woody, but every time he says Woody, we go, yay. So now he says, Woody, yay. And he thinks Woody, yay is his name. So this is my family. As you can probably tell, I didn't grow up in Australia. I grew up, although I've got a bit of a twang now, but I grew up in the north of England in the UK. And similar to Julie and Sally, we didn't grow up with a lot. So my dad was, and still is, at the age of 76, a painter and decorator. And he showed me, I was on a FaceTime with him the other week, and he showed me this ladder that was spanning across this staircase. And I said, you're not going up there, Dad, are you? And he went, yeah, I am. I'm like, you're 76. Stop. He is incredibly hardworking. He feels like he's part-time because he only does 6 days a week. I'm like, come on, Dad. And he refuses to retire. My mum, growing up, she was actually a milkwoman. So she delivered milk when we kind of, first online delivery, I think. And she did that from the age of when I was 4 until she finished it when I went to uni. So I always saw my parents working really, really hard. And that has been very important to me as a human because I've developed really strong values on the back of that. I know that hard work is really key, so I work crazy hard. But they also taught me how to be kind, how to be a good person, how to give back to other people. I'm very passionate about animals and obviously with Rosie, and animal welfare. And one of the things my mum used to do was on her milk round, she would find kind of half-dead roadkill, pretty much, and she would bring it back, and she'd say, "Here you go, Julie." So try and nurse it to health. So for many years I wanted to be a vet, and then I decided that really wasn't for me. And so I nursed back voles and birds and all sorts. And at one point we had a squirrel, Nutkin, a little baby squirrel, and Nutkin lived in my blazer for about a year until we released Nutkin out into the wild. So I developed enormous compassion through my parents. So I can't thank them enough for really instilling the values in me, because those values are what helped me be the human I am today and what's important to me today. So as I grew up, I went off to uni. I did engineering. Yay. I went to uni a long time ago now, so this was 94. There was only 5% of our course was female. But I think through my mum having been the only milk woman I ever knew in a very male-dominated industry, I never thought that women couldn't do anything. I never thought that I couldn't do anything, and I still don't. I think, no, I can do it, and I can probably do it better than you, actually. So I never, ever, ever have factored gender into me not being able to do something. If I haven't wanted to be able to do something, it's because I just don't want to do it. There was a time when I did a bungee jump, and I got to the edge, and I said, "How many people don't do this?" And he went, "Barely anyone." I did not. I looked at that and I went, "No, this is stupid. Why would I throw myself off here?" So I went back and I didn't do it. So I did engineering. After uni, I went off and I actually became an accountant for 7 months. And then I really didn't like that. And I went, "No, this is not my destiny. I'm not destined to do this." So I left. And I went into retail. And I worked for quite a few retailers over the years in the UK and Europe and Japan. I actually got into private equity in retail, which was possibly the worst environment I've ever worked in. That was around the GFC, and oh my gosh, as a woman in that environment, it was horrific. But I learned a lot from it, so I take that out. And in 2009, I moved to Australia. And here probably one of the things, and I kind of moved to Australia because I hadn't found my purpose. I wasn't happy, and I wasn't sure why I wasn't happy. And I was with a guy at the time. We lived together. We'd been together for 5 years. I was with him at the time. I left him. I said, "Do you want to come?" He said, "No." And I said, "Well, I'm going to go anyway." So I took the cats and off I went. And I just wasn't happy, but I wasn't sure why. And something was really missing from my life. And I came to Australia and I worked with Coles for a few years, and I worked with Woolies, an apparel group. And I really enjoyed what I did. And I was definitely far more fulfilled because it was an environment that I loved, being Australia. And I'd also met a really great guy, Tom, so that really helped too. But something still wasn't quite there. And throughout all of this, I was kind of like, there are lots of things which are pointing towards my purpose. When I was 19, I went to go off and work in Kenya for 3 months, helping local communities there and getting every illness under the sun at the same time. And when I was doing engineering, I went off to Spain to build solar cookers. So there was heaps of stuff that were all pointing towards my purpose of basically doing good, being good, and leaving the world in a better place when I found it. But I just hadn't kind of pulled it all together. Anyway, I just thought, I really need to do something for myself. I really need to go and venture out my own. So, in 2014, has anyone heard of Flora Fauna, by the way? Yeah. Ooh, that's always a nice sign. So Flora Fauna, I started in 2014. We became Australia's largest eco-store. But this is how we started. So we started in our shed, and we started as a cruelty-free beauty store, because I went to a store in the UK, I went to buy a lipstick, and I went, I do not know what is in this lipstick, I don't know how it's made, the ingredients are so tiny, I can't read them. So let's have a store where everything is cruelty-free, it's not tested on animals, and the ingredients are really good. So we launched it. We launched on a really bad website with 500 products and 30 brands. And Tom and I dragged Tom in really quickly to do the finances because, again, back to the accounting thing, I didn't want to do that. He came in very, very quickly. And on an evening, we had our day job still. So for 2 years, we did our day jobs. And in the evenings, we'd go over to the shed and we'd pack orders. And the next day, I'd go and take them to the post office and cause a massive queue. And that's how we started. And then over the years, we started doing more. So we said, OK, we're a cruelty-free beauty store. It's about a year in. And I said, we need to be a vegan beauty store. That's what we need to do. And a few people said to me at the time, why are you going vegan? That's really narrow. And I said, nope. I said, Australia is the fastest growing market for veganism. So we should, per capita, we are the most searched country in the world. So I said, this is what we need to do. And it is literally one step further. It's really not that big a thing. So some of the suppliers were like, oh, you can't stock all of our bestsellers. And I went, no, I know we can't, but we'll find others. Or maybe you make them. I don't know. And one of the suppliers actually said, I can remember the conversation, I remember physically where I was standing at the time, and he said, we will never make that product vegan. Anyhow, about 4 years later, they came out with the vegan version. So this is how you can create ripples with the things you do. So we turned into a vegan store, and then I said, look, we need to do things like plastic-free packaging. This stuff, everyone does it now, or compostable or recyclable. This is not new, but back in 2016, 2017, it was a bit revolutionary, which sounds crazy, to have plastic-free packaging. By doing this, we saved 30 tons of plastic, well, it would be more now, 30 tons of plastic from going to landfill. We also launched a recycling program, which basically, when I looked at the business, I just went, how do we be better? Everything we did, I went, just how do we get better? And with the recycling program, I said, well, look, we're sending out toothpaste and shampoos and stuff like that, and it's vegan, and that's great, and cruelty-free and what have you, but we're still sending plastic out to the world, and we don't have a solution for it. So why don't we get customers to send us back all of their packaging, and we will recycle it, and then we'll incentivize them for doing so. So they got $10 to spend F&F for recycling. So we did that. That turned it. So when we first launched it in 2017, and it was the first recycling program of its nature in Australia, and now you can see it in Mecca and all sorts of different places. Heaps of people do this now, which is brilliant. One of the things that when I set out with Flora Fauna, I said, if we create a business that doesn't exist in a few years because everyone's doing what we do, we've actually achieved what we set out to do. And I always went in with that front of mind. So we've recycled about 10 tons of plastic. When we started out, we got like a box a month. By the time I left the business, there's about 100 boxes a day of recycling. Yeah, we had a full-time person on it, and we got all sorts of nasty stuff coming through as well. It's like, please stop sending us this. But that was something else we did. We did heaps of work with the community. We basically built our business all around purpose. What we found is the more we did, the more we wanted to do, and it just escalated. I was in such my happy spot doing this. We worked with this gorgeous animal farm sanctuary called Where Pigs Fly. It's in the lower Hunter Valley, and they rescue lots of farm animals. That's Tom and Woody meeting one of the goats, and for 5 years we worked with them, and we didn't just give them money. I said, what else can we do? So Debbie, the owner, I said to her, you sell merch. But you're not a retailer, so let's sell your merch on our website. We take no money, not even transaction fees. I want nothing. Every dollar we get goes to you. So that's what we did. We had our Christmas party there. We just truly aligned with these folks. And then along with that, we did work with Sea Shepherd, Down Syndrome Australia, and also Heart Kids as well. This stuff was so, so important to us. So we did lots of stuff here. We just had lots of fun doing it. This was a cool campaign, actually, which has nothing to do with what we sold at all. This was, I think, November 2021. So we did not sell, we might have sold a few little toys at F&F, but we didn't really sell a lot of toys. Anyhow, I said, so many toys are thrown away. Having 2 kids, like we have a fix-it pile, which is huge, which is waiting for daddy to fix it. So many toys are thrown away because kids just lose interest really quickly. So I went, okay, if we think about our purpose, how about we collect these toys and how about we get them to kids who need them? So what we found was this amazing group of people they're in the Northern Beaches, retired folk, and there was like Santa's Grotto. They had this place in the Northern Beaches and they fixed toys. It was amazing. So we found this place. They fixed toys and they gave them to kids around the country, around the world. And I went to them and I said, okay, do you need more toys? Like, let's do something super cool here. So we did a call out to our customers and said, send us your toys. Oh my God, we got a lot of toys. And then we got them to Santa's Grotto. And from Santa's Grotto, we got them to a place called We Care on the Central Coast, which helped heaps of disadvantaged children, basically get them to children at Christmas who otherwise wouldn't get toys. We ended up on, I think it was Channel 10, one of the channels. We ended up on the TV with it. We got a lot of PR from it. None of this, and that was all done not around us selling stuff at F&F. This was around us doing a really good thing. And of course, there's a halo effect for Flora and Fauna from this. But actually, this was just driven by, let's do something pretty awesome for the community. So we became a B Corp. So does anyone know what a B Corp is? No. So a B Corp, this is where B Corp have really got to sort their marketing out. A B Corp, it's an American thing. So companies like Patagonia, Tom's Shoes, heaps of companies actually are B Corps. It's about businesses being better. They use their power as a force for good. So when you become a B Corp, they look at things like who you employ. A lot of it is sort of living wage stuff, which is a lot of US things. But from our perspective, we had to detail out every product, and we had 10,000 products. We had to detail out every product and say, is it organic? Is it, oh gosh, where's it made? There's just a heap of work behind it. So it takes quite a bit of time to get B Corp. They look at your waste, all sorts of stuff. But if you see a business that is a B Corp, basically it's a pretty good business. Like they have been audited within an inch of their lives. And you have to recertify. So we recertified in May 2021. So we also had an own brand, Green and Kind, and we became 1% for the planet there. So I say all of this. A lot of this stuff we were just doing. So we were just doing this stuff. And it was around 2018, which was the first time we actually, I kind of sat down and went, what is our purpose and our values? And this was sort of 3-4 years after we started. And for me, it took me quite a bit of time to figure that out. And eventually I got there, but I was like, our purpose is to help everyone make better choices. Not the best choice, because none of us are perfect. But if we can all be a little bit better, then we're all on the road to good things. And that's underpinned by 8 values. And actually, those values are my values. So in there, we've got about being kind. Kindness is probably the most important value we had at F&F. Being ethical, being bold and making a difference, because to drive change, you've got to be bold. You've got to do a toy campaign and not have nothing to do with your business and find Santa's Grotto and motivate. It's all about being transparent and authentic. So we have been super transparent with our business in everything we did. When we stuffed up, we said we've stuffed up. And all of those things, and these are things we were already doing, it was just really nice to encapsulate it. In doing that was a real aha moment for me in terms of going, oh, hang on, Julie, I think you found your purpose here too. And that was when I went, yeah, my purpose is actually do better, be better, build better business, and leave the world in a better way than I found it. And this is how I've been really able to lean into my purpose over the last few years, and I've had such a lot of fun doing it. We also, I just remembered this one now, we were, I suppose, so focused on it that I got a call in, I think it was 2020. It was through COVID, from an American just saying, hey, we want you to be on our show. And I'm like, what's this? And I'm always super dubious. And I'm like, how much is it? Are you going to stick me on channel 37462? And they said, no, but it's Netflix. And I was like, oh, okay, this is a bit more interesting. They said, but we need you to sign an NDA. So I signed an NDA. Anyhow, long story short, it was Zac Efron's Down to Earth episode. So cool. Here's my screensaver on my phone, and my husband jokes that he can't even get on there, and I've just got Zac. He goes, I've never been on your screensaver. It's either been Rosie the Children or Zac Efron. Like, yeah, well. And they came out, so they did this amazing show around Australia, and went to see so many cool businesses and restaurants and cafes, all sorts of people just doing great things for the planet. And they came out and filmed with us. It was through the pandemic, and Australia was pretty much the only place you could film. And I think it was in, March. I think it was like March and April. So I spent 2 days with Zac. Anyway, it was great. Anyway, it filmed in November last year, so it's really good. Have a look at it. But that was the kind of, I suppose, the ripples that we had. We kind of reached these guys in America. Like, how cool is that? So we did some pretty amazing things. Now, go back. Okay. So we got to the point where in, it was about August 2020. I just had my second bub, Alfie, in May 2020. And we'd got to the point where we were completely bootstrapped up to that. We went, we need funding. We keep growing, and growth is great, but to do the things we want to do next, which is international and private label, we need funding to do that, because we'd just been operating everything out of cash flow. And our margins weren't massive because we sold majority other people's brands. Our own brand was brilliant for us, but it was a small part of our range. So we went out to get funding. Now, I always think whenever you go to get fund, like my short-lived experience, I suppose, but I've now done this 3 times in 2 years, so keep an open mind on what could happen. The people who we thought we would go to didn't necessarily, weren't where we ended up. So we had a couple of offers from private equity companies going, here's some funding, but we'll tie you up in knots pretty much. And someone then, BWX, basically, they owned one of our competitors, Nourish Life, and they said, and we were a pain in the butt, basically, to Nourish Life. And they'd done unbeknownst to us, they'd done a brand assessment on us and gone, shit, they're really good at what they do. How are we going to compete? So they said, well, let's buy them. I've heard they're on the market, so let's buy them. So they came to us, and their offer was amazing, quite frankly. And in terms of purpose, I thought we aligned. I thought we aligned really well, and we could do the international stuff, brilliant. They had some presence in the US and the UK, amazing. And also they had manufacturing. So I was like, great, we can do our own brand. And they said to me, Julie, will you come in and run Flora Fauna and Nourish Life? And I'm like, oh, that's a super cool opportunity. So yes, let's do that. So I thought I was getting everything that I wanted. Anyhow, we sold to BWX, and that deal went through in July. Actually, here's a lesson from this. If you are selling to a company, make sure you meet everyone. Not everyone, but at least all of the management team and the board. Because I really sold to the CEO, who I liked and still really like, but I'd met some of the rest of the management team, but not everyone. And that was a bit of the undoing, actually, because not everyone was on board the bus. So we sold in July, and suddenly things changed pretty rapidly. And what I wanted to do, they didn't want to do, and we just didn't. Long story short, we just didn't align. So I made the very, very difficult decision in November 2021 to leave. And I was leaving a business I loved. I mean, those values are all me. So I was leaving a business I love. I felt like I bleed green, basically Flora Fauna green, and I felt like I was really leaving it behind. In February 2022, I exited the business, and it was really hard. Now, what I did do, because I wasn't done, and I'll come back to F&F in a minute, because there's another story. I went and bought a different business. So I went and bought Snuggle Hunny, which is a gorgeous, gorgeous baby brand. And Snuggle Hunny it's a brand that was doing really well. I suddenly had margins, which was really nice. And it was a really good brand. And with my head on, I just went, but I can make this a great brand. And I can do some of the stuff that I wanted to do at F&F, e.g. the international piece, already doing my own brand, clearly, but also really put my, I suppose, spin on it in terms of the sustainability angle. So what we've done over for the last year, I've been working on Snuggle Hunny, again with Tom. He's come in with me again. I think he thought he was about to brew beer as a career, but nope, he's in babies. And we have taken all of our packaging to be plastic free. We've done a bit of a rebrand. We've actually just become GOTS certified. And there's only 6 brands in Australia that are GOTS. It's quite difficult to get. 6 baby brands, sorry. It's quite difficult to get. Anyway, we became GOTS certified organic. So all of our range is now organic. So in a year, we've basically converted the business to be certified organic, which means it's better because the people who from seed to wrap, basically. Maybe that's a new catchphrase. From seed to wrap, everyone is paid fairly the whole way along the path, and that's really important to me. So like F&F, I've kind of gone, right, how do we make this a very purposeful business? And I suppose put my purpose into it. So that's what I've been doing for the last year. Up until the last 2, I'm still doing it, but the last 2 weeks have been particularly busy. I don't know, Christine was saying, where's your presentation? Where's your presentation? I'm like, it's coming, I'm really busy. Anyhow, I've gone full circle. So, BWX went into administration in early April, and the writing was on the wall for ages, and I could see it on the wall because customers were, we have a F&F Facebook group, and it was always super positive, and the customer sentiment just went down the pan. And I thought, oh my gosh, the writing's on the wall. They weren't buying stock, so clearly cash flow's an issue. They'd spent a crazy amount of money for Go-To skincare. So there's a lot happening in that business. Anyway, start of April, they went into administration. And KPMG, initially it was voluntary and then it was forced. And KPMG took control on behalf of the banks. And they started selling off. The first cabs off the rank to sell were Flora Fauna and Nourish Life. BWX also owns 50% of Go-To Skincare plus Sukin, huge brand, Andalou Naturals, and a few natural skincare brands. So I think they went. So actually, Flora Fauna and Nourish Life were pretty small compared to the rest of it. So they started to look at selling those businesses, and an amazing person from New Zealand who I've always kept in touch with, a guy called Abel Butler. He runs a business called Health Post, which is a B Corp. Natural health and wellness, a huge B Corp natural health and wellness business in New Zealand. And he reached out to me and he said, Julie, is there an opportunity here? Would you want to work with us? And I went, I'm really busy. But yes, I'll find the time. And this is not driven in any way by return or money or anything. This is driven by Flora Fauna and Nourish Life need a place in this world and should have a place in this world. And they were thriving businesses up until a year ago. So, working at speed, to put it into context, when I sold F&F, the process was about 9 months. This was 2 weeks. So we had to, and it was helpful because I kind of knew most of the business anyway, but we had to run at speed to put an offer in the business, and and there were other people putting offers in as well, and we didn't know whether we were going to get in or not. But as of Wednesday last week, we now own the business again. So, and I have to say, I've never felt happier. I'm actually quite emotional about it. This is the first time I've really spoken about it. I felt, when I lost Flora Fauna, I felt like a little bit of me went. And, oh my gosh. And anyway, to get it back, it feels really right. And there's a huge amount of work to do. The business is the same size as when Tom and I were running it in our shed. So there's a huge amount of work to do, and being super transparent, we couldn't take the team on this journey with us because it is so small. We have had to pull this business right back to basics again. we're having to find warehouse, we're having to re-establish relationships with stockists, and there's so much that we need to do. So it's a long journey ahead, but one of the most beautiful things that happened is I said to the Health Post team, I said, leave social media to me. Let me at it. So we put some, in fact, we didn't even have to do it. Some of the community on the Facebook group went and put a post up and said, hey, she's back. And the comments have been phenomenal. So I've done a couple of videos and things, and just the support that we've had from the community has been immense, just immense. People, like, you couldn't buy this stuff as a business or a brand. They truly believe in F&F and what it does. And so I'm really, really happy that we've got it back. And this really shows how powerful purpose is. So I'm out of time, so I'll move through. So the last one from me, to embrace your purpose. And I really, I hope I've shown that I just flipping love doing what I do, but to embrace it, you've got to find it. And it took me 40 years to really join the dots and find it and go, got it. That's what I'm here for. And then once you've got it, it's your North Star and you can go. Thank you.